Holly, hello. Who is home? Hi, guys. Who is joining us live? Who is joining today's live? I'm starting an hour earlier because we didn't correct the time. Last week was exceptional. So please note that usually we start 4:30 p.m. the Central European time, which is 1 hour behind for the West African and UK people. And then the time is going to change this weekend in Europe anyway. So we'll keep you informed. But if you're joining me live, welcome. Thank you for joining. Invite as many as you can. Let them know we're here. We're going to have it even though we're a bit early. Let me know your name and where you're joining us from. My name is Ricky Peniel, and I'm bringing this to you live from Zurich, Switzerland, where it is pleasant weather today. It's bright day, a bit cold, but yes, we're enjoying the what's autumn weather. Who is joining? Who is joining? I see a number of you joined already. Thanks for joining. Today, I'm going to continue what we started talking about last week. So, last week, we were talking about how to deal with demons, your demons, before going into a relationship. And the feedback has been tremendous. But today, I want to especially look at something called anxiety. I believe it's also one of the most known causes, for unhealthy relationship and maybe even eventually divorce, God forbid, for the marriage. So I think we really need to talk about these inner demons. So anxiety is the first one I want to talk about, and I will have to divide it to I think two sessions because there's a lot to unfold. I want to go like I like to do, go right to the heart of what causes anxiety in a relationship, what brings that fear. That let me not preempt the topic. It's very deep, but I'm going to present it as usual in as much of a lively way as possible because we cannot avoid this topic. We have to deal with inner demons. Most times people point a finger 99.9% of the time. This is why I do what I do and I love it. People think their partner is their problem, and nobody ever tells them that you attracted that partner. So based on that, I have decided to do. Somebody actually mentioned that during last week's episode or somebody's comment. So please don't forget to comment. This is an interactive session. Somebody said that she's been doing our best to try and cope with anxiety, our husband's anxiety in their marriage. But this also for the singles. So this platform is for both the single and the married. And please invite anyone that really needs it. But before that, let your own self be interactive. You be interactive about today's episode. Let me know what your thoughts are, how this affects you. So let's jump right in with the definition of anxiety. What is anxiety? Anxiety is a feeling of worry, unease, and then nervousness about something with an uncertain outcome. Now, in a relationship, it goes even much deeper. It goes to the heart of self doubt, if the relationship is going to last or not, and so it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy that people enter into a relationship, and because they have anxiety, it's usually hidden. A lot of people have, and society actually have trained people to hide their anxiety, and so they bring this into a relationship and wonder why they can't seem to be in a healthy relationship. And for the married, it's particularly harrowing because you live day in, day out with that. And the sad thing about anxiety is that if you hang around someone who is anxious long enough, you begin to, mirror their anxiety. Or you begin to even, absorb it into your system, that you also then become a nervous wreck. You don't want that to happen to you. In life, whatever we do, peace has to be the bedrock, of what we do and who we are. So if you're around people who are nervous or anxious, and I'm talking about generally relationships, yeah, right? At work, if you have a colleague who is always anxious or a boss who is anxious, they have a way of transferring that. I remember working for someone, and my boss was super nervous, super anxious. And I'd absorbed most of that energy and didn't even realize that until I came to another, organization. This was years ago. And because this other boss is calm, easygoing, has a very constructive and calm way of, solving problems that will be like, who, with the former boss was like, okay, let's sit down, let's look at this, let's talk it through. I began to see it, and that's what, fuels and propels my desire to learn and to teach about relationship. So most times we reflect our relationships, we reflect our environment, we reflect the people we hang out with the most. And this also applies to anxiety. The root of anxiety is something called attachment style. Attachment style goes way back to when we were children. Who were the caregivers around us? Our mom, our dad, our aunt, our nanny, our grandparents. It's predominantly should be the parents, right? Especially the mom. So if the mom, for example, has anxiety problem, a baby absorbs that one. But apart from that, most babies, you've seen them when they have to leave their mom's arms to maybe a stranger or even maybe just somebody in the family, they start to immediately fret and scream. Remember, if you've been around a baby, one of the most poignant thing is how a baby knows a safe arm from an unsafe harm. Somebody who wants to carry them, if their spirit somehow does not, flow with the person, they start to scream. And I'm talking about 0 months already. Babies that are really just babies. Once they leave the warmth, and this is where what I love what is done, these days when a baby is born, they put him or her on the mother's breast so that the baby can feel the heartbeat. And most babies also in infancy that's what they love the best, when they feel, that atmosphere that they're used to, the energy of their mom, or a caregiver, if it's adopted or whatever. Babies. So most of the anxiety problems always begin from childhood. And if it's not properly diagnosed, truncated, and treated, it begins to fester just like any other issues and affect your relationship in the future as an adult. So you become anxious because your style of attachment is, for example, possessiveness. Every time that your mom or your parents leave you as a child, and there are children, for those who have more than one child, you know what I'm talking about. Some children are more anxious than the other. Again, science is testing what that really means. Does this mean that some children, have more supernatural powers than the other? That's not the focus today. I want us to just scratch this topic on the surface and begin to examine what is anxiety and where does it come from. So that comes from usually as early as possible childhood trauma. Maybe somebody lost their mom, or maybe the mom was not available emotionally, or the mom herself, had anxiety disorder and all of that. That's when it begins usually. For some, it also might be that they had a very fairly normal childhood, but then again, maybe they lost a parent or both parents, at some point in childhood, or they went through some kind of trauma, domestic abuse, parents who, were drug addicts, divorce, and things like that. So all of these things fuels anxiety in an adult, in the adult life. Usually it starts from childhood. And the signs, I want to talk about the signs today. And then we look at what to do to overcome. The first sign is, of course, obsessive behavior. So you're in a relationship, dating someone or married to them, and you're constantly texting them, wanting to know exactly where they are, when they're coming, and all of that. That's a very opening, to the reality that you're in trouble. Is a red signal. Is a red signal you should not overlook, please. If you, or maybe you're the one, if you're constantly, and that happens even if you're working with people. I can't tell you how many times as a leader, and as a pastor, certain people just feel they have the 100% right to my time, right? So they're calling you in and out. Oh, pastor, where are you? Oh, where are you? Where are you? Mommy, where are you? I just want to talk to you. And then those kind of people, I deliberately ignore the call, to send that message that if it's urgent. Sometimes I write you and I say, write me, text me if it's urgent. I do have the right to my time and how I spend it, actually. That's the same thing in relationship. If you are not secure yourself and you have anxiety problems, if you are the one, don't deny it. you need therapy, you need healing. You need to find out where is this coming from. And like I said, it's usually back to childhood. It's the anxiety style that developed from your attachment style with your caregiver. I'm going to be talking deeper about attachment styles next week. Don't miss it. I'm telling you, it will help you a lot, you know. So there are people who are just like so obsessive in their behaviors. If you're just joining us, welcome to our live today, our live show. My name is Ruki Peniel. Let me see if, and oh yes, people are, Dr. Adela is here from UK. Nice to have you. Emmeline is here from USA, Maryland. Nice to have you on. Mimi, you're joining us from Nigeria. Nice to have you. Kosi is joining also from Nigeria. Let's know your name and where you're joining from. And please let me know your thoughts on this. Have you been an anxious person? How have you coped with your anxiety? Are you coping with it? Or are you just now realizing? Because it was actually last week when I was talking about dealing with your inner demons before going to a relationship that somebody dropped that comment on anxiety, and I knew we had to start from there, because really honestly that's the bedrock of most of these relationship problems that we have. Another word for anxiety is fear, you know. So you just have, sometimes it's rational, sometimes it's inherited. That's the one that makes no sense really, and you don't even know why you're anxious. You just know that you want to be with someone, you want the person you're in a relationship to be right with you all the time. People call it love. That's not love. That's obsessive behavior. So that's usually one of the signals that this person you're in a relationship with, or maybe it is you, you know, have anxiety disorder. You just want to know where they are. And I'm not talking about the deeper, you know, really, really psychological anxiety disorder. I'm talking about the basic fears that people have that they don't even realize how deep, you know, this could be. Please, if you see obsessive behavior in yourself, you're not confident of where your spouse is, you just want to always keep a tab on their movement, or when you text them, they need to respond immediately. I've had an assistant, someone that was close to me at work, that when they text you, they expect you to respond immediately. So, you know, Hope Now is talking about all kinds of relationship, really. The way you are in your personal relationship is most likely the way you'll behave also, except of course there's very strict rules at work. It's the same way you'll behave with your boss or with your assistant, or you know, with your colleagues. So this person will be like, oh, I know you read it and I was just a bit worried, I don't want anything, I just wanted to know if you got it. I'm like, okay, this was like 2 minutes ago. Give it time to breathe, you know. And if truth must be told, a lot of people, especially with the advent of, you know, social media and telephones, mobile telephones, and all of that, a lot of people have become even more anxious because, of course, if you send a message, you know when the person read it or not, right? For some platforms that we use. So obsessive behavior like that is not nice, particularly in interpersonal relationship, because at work, it can be regulated, right? With the regulations at the company. You might be expected to behave in a particular way with a boss, for example, or with a colleague. So you cannot really flex and exhibit, you know, your anxiety at work the way you do at home or in interpersonal relationships. But the first thing you need to know is, why am I being obsessive? Why is my heart not at rest if this person I'm in a relationship is either not responding to me or not available? Why do I have to be negative? Because that's what happens. Oh, maybe they're going to leave me. Or maybe they're seeing someone. Or maybe this, or maybe that. You know, even if that is the case, if you don't learn how to, you know, constructively deal with anxiety, you're just going to expose your heart, you know, to unnecessary palpitation, heart disease, stroke, God forbid, and all manner of things. And I tell people, the person then you're afraid of, of losing, God forbid, if you now become healed and maybe die because of that, they're still gonna have to live their life without you, with some other person. So your fear then becomes, you know, reality. Fear is very bad, really. It's meant to help you, if you know how to channel it very right, to know what is going on, right? What is negative that shouldn't be negative around you, but not to control you. So when you're anxious, it just means that you have hidden fears from childhood, and it's beginning to take over your peace of mind. Let me read some comments that's been coming in. There's Wanley from South Africa. Nice to have you on. Nice to have you on. And let me see what Dr. A wrote. A lot of people do struggle with anxiety in relationships, and that could lead to making a wrong choice. That's very right. That's very right. I remember Dr. A sharing with us some things that happened in her former relationship. She is a mental health expert. She's a doctor from the UK, and I highly recommend her services as a psychotherapist and as a psychiatrist in the UK, but you can always reach her, online or through phone. These days we can do counseling and diagnose. Anyway, just go and like her Talk Mental show. She has some very, very, very important tools that can help you. I'm telling you, I've known Dr. A for a while, and it's always been very great comments from those, that I sent to her and her clients. There's Modino from USA. Nice to have you on. Nice to have you on. Nice to have you on. Obsessive behaviors can cause the right man or woman away. Let's look at that angle. That's right. That is so true. Yeah. When you're obsessive, someone who does not have anxiety problems instantly knows something is off and then they leave, right? The very thing, that's one thing. What you're afraid of will eventually come to pass if you don't truncate it. So if you're scared, the reason people are obsessive is fear. I've just talked about that. Is anxiety that this person will leave me, my life will be horrible without them, blah, 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 blah. And then you become, crazy in that relationship, following them, monitoring them. They will leave. It's true. Thank you so much for that comment, Dr. Adiola. They will leave. And then there's the avoidance mentality. So people use avoidance, to try and seek reassurance from your partner. Nobody likes to be manipulated. It might work initially, but it won't be long before that person catches onto your trick. That, oh, when we have like a conflict or, some misunderstanding in the relationship, you shut down, right? You avoid talking to them deeply. You're just mildly polite, hello, hi, can I? No, I'm busy, and so many other behaviors that it's like a protest, right? But then again, you don't talk about it. You're just hoping that checking out emotionally from the relationship will make your partner correct their behavior. Stop it. It's yourself you're hurting at the end of the day. If something is not going down the way you want it, schedule meetings. I tell people in relationships and in marriages, schedule a meeting and speak very calmly and respectfully to your partner about what's going on with you or how you perceive their behavior. Because most times it's actually your perception that creates the narrative that you see, and then you blame your partner. Again, I'm not saying that there are not those exceptional cases where you're really, really in a relationship with a downright, mean person, manipulative person, but manipulative behavior on your part will not help the matter, even in those cases. Stop having that avoidance mentality. If something is not good with you, if you're not okay with a behavior in a relationship, don't be scared to talk about it, or don't then try to play manipulative games of avoiding them. They want to talk to you, they want to ask you things, and then you're giving them the cold shoulder or just gruntle your response. You don't want to go deep into it. It's a sign of anxiety disorder, either in yourself or in your spouse. The silence treatment is not healthy at all. Communication, let me highlight this. Communication is key to building healthy relationships. That's very right. I've talked about that several times. If you want to be in a healthy, long-lasting relationship, you have to be an expert at communication. I call it transformational communication. If you hire me as your coach, these are the things that I teach singles and the married. And honestly, I'm so privileged and humbled by the results that I've seen over the last 10 years, with the curriculum I use in relationship counseling and coaching. If you're tired of losing good relationships, or if you're tired of attracting bad relationships, it's time for you to go into the relationship coaching. That's a really, really helpful thing these days. The last thing I'll talk about today, because of time, is that even though you want to be in a relationship, then because of anxiety, you tend to be emotionally distant. So this is like piggy banking off the last point, right? So avoidance is there, but then emotionally deep inside, you're not vulnerable. And I tell people, if you ever have to be in a place or in a relationship with someone that you don't feel safe to share your truth, that's also a relationship you're not supposed to be in, really. on every level. The world is becoming more and more transformational. The movement, the Me Too movement, and all of that. I don't like extremes. Of course, there are things wrong with that as well. But really, people should be able to, in the beginning, when we look at the book, the Bible, the book of relationship, the man and the woman were naked and unafraid. So if you have to be in close relationship, I don't care even if it's a work relationship. I worked coaching a lady for almost 4 years. It's one of the big banks here. About She had a boss who was anxious, and this lady was becoming neural, nervous. Like really losing it. So I had to work with her because, with job is very hard, especially in the banking system, the kind of level she had. Eventually, she was able to leave that job. She took 2 years away because she could. She had saved enough money to really just heal, and get over whatever it was, that the person was, had infested her with. Because this next week, we're going to look at that. This thing is so sad that at the end of the day, you take on the energy of your environment. I said that at the beginning. That's what was happening to that lady. She was sucking in all this negative energy. She couldn't sleep. She was losing her hair. She almost started to bite the finger. A beautiful, adult woman with a good job. This boss was driving her really almost to the clinic. Thank God for counseling. Thank God for, so I would go with her, sometimes just to get a coffee and really walk, with her concerning those anxieties that I was able to point out. It is not yours. It's because of the environment, the work environment. Unfortunately, this eventually, sometimes we've seen that happen a couple of times in Switzerland, leads to suicide. So this is really serious stuff we're talking about today. If you're experiencing nervousness, unusual anxiety that you cannot cope with or you cannot seem to get over, please get in touch with me. I will recommend you. Thank God Dr. Adeola is with us today. You need to see a mental health expert. These days, I've said it several times on this show, where, demystifying mental health and removing the stigma. Better you get help than allow situation or things from the child, from your childhood trauma, drive you into, causing more damage to yourself and your family and people that you haven't even met yet, that are going to love you as you should be loved, as you deserve to be loved. So you need to be careful. If you have this intense desire to, distance yourself from someone but still remain in a relationship with them, it is not healthy at all. I call it emotional unavailability. So you're in a relationship, but you're not in a relationship, or maybe they are in a relationship with you, but there's a part of them you're not reaching out to. Don't hide that. Don't hide anxiety. Let me take a pause and read the powerful comments that I'm already seeing. So I talked about the silent treatment. Dr. Adeola also chips in there. And Lady Des from Philippines, nice to have you, Lady Alice. She said they must put Jesus at the center of their relationship. Trust and honesty are vital for every relationship. That's right. Trust and honesty, vulnerability. You have to be able to say your truth. If you're in a close relationship with someone, it has to be that to a very healthy extent, you can be yourself, around them. You can tell them your fears, not in a controlling way, because I've seen that as well. People use vulnerability to control. We call it the codependency kind of relationship. That's not what I'm talking about. That's another unhealthy aspect of relationship. But at the end of the day, you need to be in a relationship where you can speak your truth without fear of prejudice or of rejection. I think that's one of the most things that is important that we take from today's topic. Hello, Mama. Hey, that's Peter from Lagos. Nice to have you. Nice to have you. I'm loving the comments that we're seeing today. Oh, thank you so much, Lady Daz. Saruki, you're so beautiful. Can feel the presence of God. Amen. Amen. Please invite as many as you can to watch the replay. I would like to stop here because there's a lot of info, and I believe that people absorb information in bits and sizes, especially these days. So please share this video. Let's continue next week. I'm going to be showing you next week the root of anxiety in a relationship, how you can deal with it in yourself, or you can help your partner if it has become a marital relationship. If you're still single, you have a chance now to decide if this person, is even worth that trouble in the first place. Nice to have you guys on. Powerful topics. I want to thank everyone that has contributed, especially Dr. Adiola, because she's giving us a professional angle to that. Thank you so much, Lady D. Thank you, Emmeline. Thank you, Corsi, Peter, all of you who joined live. And for those who are joining, Wanele, I hope I'm pronouncing your name right. Please don't be upset if I'm not. Help me write in the chat how to pronounce that. Nice to have you all the way from South Africa. Mimi Owobu, nice to have you. Nice that you joined us. Every other person watching the replay, please let's know your name, where you're joining us from, and also drop your comment and share the video. Together we bring hope now to relationships in our world. That's what this platform for, building and helping you have a healthy relationship. Love your family. Thanks for making today's edition very interactive. Now let's do the next job. Let's bring hope now to people around us and share the video. Love you. Have a great week ahead, and we'll see us again next Saturday. Ciao.